suppose we never thought about it as a remake. It was always, from our screenwriter Kazuo Ishiguro's mind, it was an opportunity to be inspired by something and tell it in a different context to hopefully celebrate the same message. So it was never like, oh, we want to remake that movie specifically. It was inspired by, I think, the original film. I mean, there are many different styles of Kurosawa work. There are the very big, sort of tableau-esque Kurosawa films like Rashomon and Ran. But to be honest, the Kurosawa films that I think I personally connected to the most were the contemporary ones, Ikiru being one of them. But the other one that I really liked very much when I was a film student was called High and Low, which is a police procedural film about a kidnapping. And Kurosawa is just a visual master. Like the imagery is extraordinary, and is for every filmmaker that's ever come since Kurosawa. I think we're all inspired by his mastery of telling stories through the visual medium. I think because Kazuo Ishiguro has a sensibility for both sides of both of those worlds, but particularly for the British world, he understands Stoicism, he understands this period and this certain kind of English gentleman that is ultimately extinct now to a degree. It's through the lens of Ishiguro that we see the comparison between the world of Kurosawa and the world of living, and how through Ishiguro's writing we see a similarity that you can have a man in Japan in '52 who has this understanding of life and death, and you can have a man in London in the same year and has the same experience. And Ishiguro is the link that saw how these two men share a similar societal kind of place, and how their lives are equally sort of the same size. They're both very little, they're very small lives. He was the inspiration, yes, for the writing. So it was always and only for Bill Nye. I think the benefit for me with working with somebody like Bill is that it was an opportunity for me to learn, because he's such an experienced actor who has just worked in so many different ways, and on stage and in film and television. He's done so many different kinds of characters. You know, he's been his palette as an actor is very vast. So it was an education for me to be able to journey with him through the process of preparing for this film. And I think the other thing with working with an actor like Bill is that you're learning about process. I learned a lot about process, actor's process, because he has an instinct about the resonance of characters, and it was a really interesting collaboration to kind of identify the resonance of this character, and then from that point, you know, kind of breathe life into him. So it was ultimately just a real privilege to work with him. In terms of inspirations, was very much inspired by movies from the 50s from the United Kingdom and America, German expressionism, black and white photography. We had an incredible team of people who made this movie. Our costume designer is Sandy Powell, and she's an extraordinary artist. Our production designer, Helen Scott, also an extraordinary artist. And so this movie is really a collaboration of incredibly talented people. Living is definitely the message perhaps that young people don't want to hear right now, but they should hear. Because I think that even for me, when I was first asked to make this movie, I thought, what can I say about death? What do I know about death? What do I know about the end of a life, or my life? This is an interesting film because in fact the majority of the characters in this film are young people. So there's a real value, I guess, in suggesting to a younger audience to go and see a film about death that actually celebrates life. I think that's a surprisingly youthful message. There's a film by the Dardenne brothers called Rosetta, and I saw Rosetta at film school, at the beginning of film school, and it's the simple story of a young woman who needs a job, and she's desperate and her life depends on it in some way. And it's a social realist piece of work, but it was because I saw that movie. When I saw that movie, I realized that I could make films, because I realized that I could go back to South Africa after film school and that there were stories in my own country that I could tell through this style of cinema, which was very simple and very naturalistic and was very raw in a way. And that movie changed my life because it gave me the confidence to go, I can go and tell my own stories. And my very first film is called Shirley Adams, and if you watch that movie, it is essentially a love letter to the Dardenne brothers.